into the really interesting panel about the intersection between blockchain and game. And before we walk into our main panel today, definitely we would love to interview with you guys about our specialists about gaming and also the whole Asia industry in general. And we do have today Tracy Leung from Game Adoption from Tezos Ecosystem, and also Tony Tong, chairman of Hong Kong Blockchain Association. And my name is Chris from Moonbeam Network. So I would love to know more about you guys, like your background in industry, the Web3 industry, blockchain, and also the connection between your organization with Web3 gaming right now. So maybe Tony Tong, you can go first.
Xin chào. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tony Tong from Hong Kong Blockchain Association. I also was the Macau Gaming Association Vice Chairman when I lived there for a few years. So my background is from Web 1 to Web 3. I started as a programmer for the Web 1 HTML, HTTP days. And my first company got listed on NASDAQ in 2000. So we are the second Hong Kong company that it's called Pacific Net. We're doing e-commerce. So we are listed in the NASDAQ on year 2000. And recently we have a Web3 incubator that's called Com 2000. So that's how we started year 2000, com2000.com and com2000.org. And we've applied for a US IPO, and recently we've been approved by the SEC for our S1 registration. So we are supporting Web3 projects, especially gaming. As you know, in China, many of the games are Web 2, Web 1, Web 2 games, and now they're migrating to Web 2.5 and Web 3. So I see big opportunities in the Web3 gaming space.
How about you?
Hi everyone, so I'm Jason. So basically I started my journey playing professionally in esports scene, representing Singapore in World Cyber Games, playing Dota, StarCraft, and then gradually going to Web2 partnership, working with Moonton for Mobile Legends, Garena for League of Legends, Free Fire, and many more. And then shortly after, I ventured into Web3, working with Immutable, and then right now in Tezos ecosystem, basically looking for games to onboard into our ecosystem. So yeah, that's basically what I'm doing.
Okay, so a little bit context about Web3 gaming metrics right now. I saw $19 billion has been invested into Web3 game since 2018, with more than $2.8 billion in 2023, even in the bear market. And also, blockchain game accounted for 34% of total activities of blockchain industry, with more than 1.1 million active users every day. So, however, when we compare with Web 2 and traditional gaming industry right now, it's still a very long path to go. So I'm curious about this. My question with you guys is that what is the biggest hurdle barriers of Web3 gaming that we have to solve now for revolutionizing the Web3 gaming and also attracting non-crypto native users to start using the application and also all the gaming projects in Web3? Yeah, maybe I will invite you first.
Okay, well, coming from Hong Kong and China, the biggest obstacle is still the government regulation. As you know, in China, they only allow research, development of blockchain and game technology, but they do not allow any crypto issuance of tokens or crypto in China. But that gives Hong Kong a good opportunity. So all these Web2 game developers from, for example, in Shenzhen, they worked for Tencent before. Shenzhen is a mega hub for Web2 games. So they are trying to develop Web 2.5 or Web 3 games. In China, they can only do development, but they have to come to Hong Kong or maybe even Vietnam, Southeast Asia, Thailand, many other jurisdictions that are okay to actually issue tokens in the US also. So in Hong Kong, Hong Kong Blockchain Association, we've been working with the government. So as you have heard that the Hong Kong government is in full support of Web3 development, including Web3 games. So the government has also issued a number of licenses for virtual asset trading and virtual asset management and token issuance licenses. So that's the legal framework. And the second part is I think user adoption. When you ask people to set up the wallet, so it's usually difficult because a lot of the people, they see the wallet set up, they would get turned off. So I would suggest the people to combine, Web 2 to Web 3, so they still have some kind of centralization game points, but then there's a conversion into crypto. So for the non-wallet users, they can still start playing, and then when they need to do some certain features or functions, then they'll change to upgrade to Web 2.5 or Web 3. That would make it easier for the traditional Web 1, Web 2 players to join in the game.
How about you, Jason? I mean, as the Web3 ecosystem, how about your view about the Web3 gaming, especially in user experience right now?
I think I totally support what Tony mentioned in terms of regulation, but I think this regulation issue is not just between or within China or Hong Kong, right? It's basically something on a global scale. So like for example, a Web3 game right now, if it's on Android, iOS, they cannot be listed on Apple or even on Play Store. I think that's going to be a biggest hurdle, because as a player yourself, once you want to play a mobile game, you definitely go to App Store to look out for the game, right? And if this is something that cannot be integrated, that's going to be a major blocker. And if you look at marketing platforms, Facebook, YouTube and all, they are also pretty restrictive in terms of like content creation, in terms of Web3 gaming. And if you look at the past, the go-to-market strategy whereby traditional game developers, they use major influencers, to basically create content, generate, all this kind of eye view or eyeballs, for the games, right? And if this is lacking in the ecosystem, there's no influencer supporting, then it's going to be a great hurdle. Of course, user onboarding journey is something that's important. Of course, as a game developer, you guys can do silent onboarding, whereby, you guys have Immutable Passport, Kukai, having users to log in using their Gmail, Facebook, or whatever not. But at the end of the day, how do you then get these users to transact, or how do you then get these users to learn about, the benefits of Web3? But with the given fact right now, if you look at Steam, games like Dota, CS, all these are actually viable Web3 use cases. It's just that, when you sell for value or sell for fiat, it's basically a Steam value within the ecosystem. But for us, in the Web3 space, we're actually selling for fiat or crypto of our choice, right? So it's actually in the market right now. It's just that how do we educate the users and how do we actually bring fraud to the community themselves. And earlier you mentioned about, over 30% of the funding is coming into Web3 ecosystem. But if you look at it, say for example, MMO, right? One of the most successful one could be World of Warcraft. The team behind them was actually Blizzard. They spent $200 million just to create a game and to make the game so scalable. I think in the current space of Web3, none of the game studios right now actually have the kind of funding to basically develop a very strong user acquisition plan, a very strong partnership and all. And of course, when you look even further, competitive games right now for Web3, we lack esports. And esports is something that is definitely huge. Endemic brands, non-endemic brands, ecosystem partners, community will then all be, driven to play the game.
Okay, so talking about funding, especially in Hong Kong, you're based in Hong Kong and you saw a lot of capital in and out, especially in Web3 gamings. And right now, I believe that all the investment flow come to focusing on gaming infrastructure. And what do you think about that, and how you feel that will shape what would be the influence of that shift to the whole Web3 industry?
Coming from Hong Kong, as you said, actually Hong Kong has a lot of investors, and they very early on they started investing in Web3, especially with Animal Cup Brands being headquartered in Hong Kong in the Cyberport. I've known Yassil, the founder, for over 15 years when he was still doing Web 1. I still remember back in 2017, he was showing everyone about CryptoKitty. So I went to Vancouver and met the CryptoKitty team, and I thought it was very interesting, but I didn't quite understand the economic model, so I didn't make an investment. I guess I sort of regretted it. And I know that there's a strong investment base from the family offices, traditional institutional investors, and more money there moving from the traditional real estate, brick and mortar investment into Web3 investment. And with the fame of Web3 game, especially with Axie Infinity a few years ago, Sandbox also very strong in Hong Kong, YGG all came out of Animoca Ventures. So more and more people are aware that actually investing in Web3 and Web3 gaming is profitable, or at least for some people it's profitable, depending on what price you come in. I know a lot of people are still stuck with Sandbox and Axie Infinity at high price. But anyway, you win, you lose. But overall, with the Hong Kong legal framework, there's the government SFC issuing the virtual asset management license. So you can actually legally raise a crypto fund in Hong Kong and raise money and invest in crypto projects. So the legal framework is there, and I believe more investors, and they have lost too much money in the real estate investment over the last few years. So they're interested in learning new things. 5 years ago, they say, oh, Web3, blockchain, all scammers. But for the last 3 years, they say real estate, all scammers. They are moving into Web3.
I want to add in one more question about this. Like, especially now, there are a lot of new trends, let's say, with stacking, LSD, and a lot that pumping up right now. And what are the current investors thinking about gaming to compare with other trending?
I think for the asset allocation, the fund managers, they are moving, like with the recent bull run in Bitcoin. They started with Bitcoin ETF. In Hong Kong also, the government approved the Bitcoin futures ETF and also Ethereum futures ETF. So you can buy, for example, the 3066, that's a stock code at the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, just like buying a stock. You can buy a 3068, which is Ethereum futures ETF. So I think that encouraged more people to move their fund investment into virtual asset and crypto investment. And with the crypto and the Web3 gaming, I believe the future is towards the direction. I think centralized gaming are going to be, and less and less. And people are going to put more faith in the decentralized gaming and GameFi.
So get back to the network perspective. So considering Etherlink's emergence as an L2 solution for Tezos with EVM compatible, and how my recent enhancement influenced to the Tezos network performance, especially in gaming aspect.
I think I'll do it this way first. So for everybody's context, Tezos right now is actually an L1 chain, and L2 is an in-house developed, EVM compatible protocol that's going to be linked to our L1. So once that is done, what's going to happen is that the games that we're going to approach, as long as the game is live, if they're on multi-chain, they'll be able to interact with Tezos. There's no longer for them to basically recode Solidity into our Microsoft languages. The smart contract can be different right now. You can basically just bridge over. And then at the same time, if you look at our TPS and our gas fee, using Tezos L1 protocol as a solution, the gas fee will be significantly lower than what we are currently seeing in the market.
Okay. So I mean, how about that? I mean, is there any way that you think Etherlink will be a thing in Web3 gaming in the future?
I definitely believe Etherlink will be a thing for Tezos because it's going to be EVM compatible, and all the gamers right now, they're basically looking for more user base in terms of Web3. And if you're not EVM compatible, then you're going to lose out to a huge chunk of user base in the crypto space right now.
So I also have a question for you to follow up this. Like, you know, building a gaming, definitely we have to balance the on-chain element with user experiences, right? And from that perspective, so how can we maintain the focus on user experience while still reserving the extreme decentralization nature inherent to blockchain gaming? I think this question, you will go first.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. So earlier I shared that, you know, games like Counter-Strike, Dota, Diablo, you know, games on Steam, you know, they are basically, technically speaking, Web3 in a sense, because, you know, the assets that's within the game itself is very tradable between players. So what we need to maintain right now is the decentralized side of things, whereby who actually own these assets on chain. And at the end of the day, the core fundamental of a game is fun and entertainment, right? So as long as the game is fun, the game is, you know, is able to provide entertainment, I think that's sufficient. And then at the end of the day, you know, I know people actually talk about the rewarding kind of things when it comes to GameFi or even Web3 gaming, right? So I'm not super supportive when it comes to, you know, token distribution, because that's not how you can sustain a game. You know, there's going to be other ways whereby you can reward your users. Like, for example, Mobile Legends, right? At the end of every single season, the top players get to have like some, you know, exclusive skins or whatever not. And this applies for multiple games across the board, right? And the players will then be able to define, you know, the value of the items, and then of course, you know, they can sustain the ecosystem and not depleting the liquidity that's within the game itself.
Okay, so what are your thoughts on this, Tony?
Well, I still remember when I talked about CryptoKitty, the really old days, and when it first came out, it caused a congestion on the Ethereum network. So I think I'm hoping that there will be newer, you know, better technology. Tezos or other new chains to solve this technology. And I think right now the Web3 games cannot be very responsive, right? They cannot be compared to the traditional internet MMORPG games that requires very fast response time. And but as I said, the temporary way I know a lot of the companies are doing are still just basically running a Web 2 game and then combining the token element, so they call it Web 2.5. That is a sort of a midway for people to keep a very fast response time, but still having the tokenomics in the back. So I think that's until we have a good solution, maybe coming out of Tezos, we have fast speed and low cost.
Okay, so this question for you, Tony. So how can developers, especially maybe in your ecosystem, create sustainable monetization framework in Web3 gaming, and also incentivize players engagement via token access, something like that, and while still, you know, balance and nurturing the benefit and mutual benefit between creators and player. Yeah.
Should I start? Okay. Yeah. Coming from China again, I'm working with some of the biggest Web 1, Web 2 game creators. For example, Angry Bird. It started in Europe, I think Sweden or Norway, and one of my friends, his name is Michael. He brought the game to China 15 years ago, and then this crazy, you know, Angry Bird took off in China. This Angry Bird everything, and it was a very simple mobile game. And there's a Fruit Ninja. There's also another game that came from China, from Shenzhen, from my friends. And at the time, it was play for fun, you know, play for points, and you don't really earn anything. And with the new, you know, Web3 gaming and the tokenomics, and they are all helping to, you know, revive the game. I still believe in the casual games. They don't require, you know, mass multiplayer, you know, high response time. It's a very simple casual game for the people to play. I think play for fun, play for points, and then now with the tokenomics, you can have, you know, play to earn and the token rewards. I think you have to make the game very interesting to play so that people will stick around. Unlike the first phase of Web3 games that are good for earning but not really interesting to play. And when Axie Infinity first came out, I remember the first year, all my friends in China, in Shanghai, in Shenzhen, they love investing in the token, and they also hire 50 people, 100 people to play the game and earn the money. And when the token was going up, they were very happy. And then quickly, when the tokenomics inflation did not get cured, there's problems, and then it dropped, and then everybody stopped doing that. So I think for Web3 games, you have to balance. You have to have very interesting game, and then for the token reward, I think that should be part of the element, but that should not be the only thing. So, but I know that there are many very smart traditional Web2 game developers are coming into Web3, especially coming from China. And in mainland China, the Web2 games are under very strict government regulation, so they find it no longer interesting to go. So they're trying to repackage the games and for overseas for Web3.
So how about you, Jason? How do you think about this?
Yeah, I think earlier mentioned about rewarding players through NFTs and then letting them determine the value of the skins. But on the other side, there's also one more thing that we can look at. So implementing 2 tokens in a game will definitely be interesting. So one tokens with utility and the other one without, right? So the one with utility will definitely be meant for rewarding, but of course at a minimal level, so that the liquidity will be drained. Players still can get rewarded somehow. And now of course on the other side, the tokens without liquidity can be used to purchase in-game items, right? So it can be used to purchase, skins, equipment, accessories, whatever not. It's basically the same as, a native tokens that can be rewarded, but just that, players can't drain that. It's similar to what Mobile Legends have today, right? For example, Battle Points, where player earns by playing games, by playing matches, and then on the other side, they use their credit cards to buy diamonds, right? But of course, right now, if you put into Web3 context, these diamonds can be traded for tokens, and this is something that we definitely need to balance out.
Okay, so we are about to go to the last question of this panel. So how can you guys think about that? We Web3 builders in general can drive awareness and also understanding of blockchain gaming technology to developers and also users themselves globally. And what would be the best way?
Yeah, maybe I can go first. So again, when it comes to community building, we definitely like esports, content creation that's lacking in the space. And I strongly urge the developers out there, try not to think of things that's out of the norm, or try not to think of things that could be new to drive valuation or whatever not. I think look at existing use cases that has been successful, that's in Web2, replicate those, and then just keep building on that line, right? There's no need to come up with things like for example, risk to earn, some kind of new terms, right, to basically hype the community. I strongly don't believe in this kind of thing. Like I mentioned before, games should be fun, games should be entertaining, right? Players should basically be there to spend for the game. So they should be, building on games that can drive hype, drive viewership, and then, getting esports team, getting guilds, to support their ecosystem. And then brands will definitely start to come in, players will start to come in, and another angle will be being interoperable. This is something that Web3 can do that other games can't do in Web2 space. So having an NFT or an asset within Game A, crossing over to Game B that's on another studio, I think that's something that's going to be cool. Having an NFT that can be played across different games. I think developers who can start this kind of trend will be able to bring users from Game A to Game B, right? Vice versa. So implementing daily reward system, retention mechanics. I think these are strong drivers existing in the ecosystem as well that we should continue developing, and then this will then gear towards a successful developer getting retention, players playing the games, whether through really they want the rewards or really the fun side of things. They get to try different games as they scale into the ecosystem.
I think for blockchain application in gaming, there's an important advantage for blockchain for gaming is to use blockchain to prove that the game is fair. Because as I was in Macau for a number of years for the Macau Gaming Association, and we have a lot of users, players who play these online games, casino games and games, and when they lose money, they always complain. Oh, this you guys, the operators, the website, you play a trick on us. You change the RNG function. So I know that in blockchain, there are developers working on the provably fair game (PFG), and use hash functions to prove that you have true random number generator. Whether you're offering lottery or other kinds of slot games, you have to make your users believe that you are operating it in a very fair manner. In a traditional centralized game operators, lottery and all kinds of online game operators who rely on centralized RNG, random number generator, they always feel that this could be manipulated. So I think that in the future, there will be decentralized gaming and using the blockchain PFG, provably fair game technology. There are ways to make people believe in the fairness of the game. And then of course, there's also the other tokenomics to make people be rewarded from the game.
Okay, thank you guys. So we are at the end of this panel discussion. And before we say goodbye to the communities and all the audience here, so definitely we would love to know your thought about Vietnamese market in general, and like, do you have any plan to do something here? Grow teams or maybe do some kinds of investment into this market, especially developer side.
I'll go next. So basically, I think Vietnam market is definitely a very interesting one. With the 10 Arena, XC, all the teams based in Vietnam, right? And then right now for Tezos ecosystem, we already onboarded quite a few Web2 game studios. And they're looking to port their existing Web2 games onto Web3. That's something that we are looking at. And then we are looking to work with Launchpads locally, and also community as well, to basically get people more familiarized with Microson, which is our smart programming language, rather than just the Solidity or Rust out there, right? So this is something that we have planned out for, and we are going to develop this within the next few months.
How about you, Tony?
Well, we're here in Vietnam because I think that there are a lot of very smart Web3 developers, in addition to having a very strong community. So I think, as I said, in Hong Kong is a good place for fundraising, but Hong Kong only has 6.5 million population. So you're not going to find a big base for developers or gamers, game players. They're primarily investors, speculators in Hong Kong. So I think it's a good thing to combine the advantages of Hong Kong and Vietnam and Southeast Asia. Hong Kong is the money center for over 2 decades. Hong Kong ranked number 1, 2 in terms of IPO fundraising amount. And now Hong Kong is also a very important financial center for Web3 financing, especially with the government licenses to allow people to have crypto investment funds in Hong Kong to invest in crypto projects and Web3 projects. So, but they need to look at interesting projects. So here in Vietnam, we see very good developer space, hackathon, and also the low-cost development. That's also important. So I think we're going to see more and more companies like Animalca. They're already here. They've invested in many projects. Hong Kong Blockchain Association, we also have an incubation center, accelerator in Hong Kong, in Shenzhen, which is right next to Hong Kong, in the US, along with Com 2000, our Web3 incubation company that's going for US IPO. So we want to combine the advantages of the fundraising in Hong Kong with the game community in Vietnam and the developer advantages here in Vietnam.
Yeah, so thank you guys for coming here to Vietnam, and also thanks all the audience here to listen to us, and hope you guys gain a lot of value from this panel discussion. And yeah, thank you.
Come on, thank you guys.
Thank you for the insightful